Hello everyone, good afternoon Doc Leon and classmates. For today's video, I will be talking about two philosophies which are Phenomenology and Pragmatism. So without further ado, let's get started. First, we will talk about Phenomenology. Okay? But before we dig deeper into Phenomenology, let's have these questions first. What does a food mean to you? What does it mean to a chef? To those who experience poverty? Or to those who have health problems? How about when you hear someone shouting fire? What does fire mean to you? What does it mean to the firemen? To the neighborhood? What about coins? How much does it mean to you? To the government? To the businessman? To the poor? Or to the rich? Right? It means differently. So each person operates in terms of his phenomenological field, his interests, and his own purposes. So according to Kant, we see things not as they are, but as we are. Thus, no incident, no experience, no object, nothing has quite the same meaning to two different persons. And that is the idea of phenomenology. So what is phenomenology? The word phenomenology is derived from the Greek words phenomenon, meaning to show, and logos, meaning study. Therefore, it is the study of things shown, or the study of phenomena. So, phenomena means the appearance of things, or things as they appear in our experience, or the ways we experience things. Thus, the meaning things have in our experience. And for phenomenology, the ultimate source of all meaning and value is in the lived experience of human beings. Therefore, it is also called the philosophy of experience. And then, the term most closely associated with phenomenology is intentionality. So, the core doctrine in phenomenology is the teaching that every act of consciousness we perform, every experience that we have, is intentional. So, intentionality is the power of minds and mental states to be about, to represent something, or, or to stand for things, properties, or state of affairs. So, therefore, to say that an individual's mental states have intentionality is to say that they are mental representations or that they have contents. Okay? And also, the School of Phenomenology is dedicated to understanding consciousness in its raw form, meaning to say, it makes first-hand subjective experience as its starting point, rather than starting in the objective world of nature. And phenomenology is an experientialist philosophy rather than a rationalist philosophy. So, to illustrate the rationalist and experiential perspectives, let's have this example of time. So, if we were to study time from a rationalist perspective, we would look at it in terms of seconds, minutes, and hours. So, that is the objective nominal time that runs at the same speed regardless of the human experience of it. But if we will see it in the experientialist perspective, we would look at the subjective first person experience of time, more like the saying attributed to Einstein, which he said that put your hand on a hot stove for a minute and it seems like an hour. Sit with a pretty girl for an hour and it seems like a minute. So it means that to the rationalist, time is the same. But to the phenomenologist, it can appear very different. So it is also the same with food, money, and fire. It means different to different persons. Now, let me introduce to you the proponents of phenomenology. First, we have Immanuel Kant. So, he distinguished the distinction between the nominal world of things in themselves and the phenomenal world of reality as experienced through our senses. So, as what we have as our example earlier, the time, so the minutes, seconds, and hours, those are the nominal world of things. But the phenomenal world of reality is the experience that we have during that second, minute, or hour. Alright? And then we also have Edmund Husserl. He established the School of Phenomenology in the last decade of 19th century and proposed the idea of descriptive phenomenology and the intentionality of consciousness. So, the School of Phenomenology began with Edmund Husserl. And then next we have Martin Heidegger, and he is one of the follower and a star student of Husserl who defined phenomenology as the art or practice of letting things show themselves. So, he also developed the interpretative phenomenology. And then next we also have Jean-Paul Sartre. So through his critique of Husserl's works, Sartre developed an original and sophisticated variety of transcendental phenomenology. And the last one, we have Maurice Merleau-Ponty. He developed a rich variety of phenomenology emphasizing on the body image, our experience of our body and its significance in our activities. So those are the proponents of phenomenology. Now, how shall we study conscious experience? So we reflect on various types of experiences just as we experience them. That is to say, we proceed from the first person point of view. So classical phenomenologists practice some three distinguishable methods. First, we describe a type of experience just as we find it in our own past experience. And then, we interpret that type of experience by relating it to the relevant features of context. And the last one, we analyze the form of a type of experience. So classical phenomenologists practiced analysis of experience by factoring out notable features for further elaboration. And then these traditional methods have been ramified in recent decades, expanding the methods available to phenomenology. So in a logico-semantic model of phenomenology, we specify the truth conditions for a type of thinking. And then, in the experimental paradigm of cognitive neuroscience, we design empirical experiments that tend to confirm or refute aspects of experience. So that is how we study conscious experience. Now, how is phenomenology distinguished from and related to other fields in philosophy? The discipline of phenomenology forms one basic field in philosophy among others. So traditionally, we only have four fields or disciplines, right? The ontology, epistemology, logic, and ethics. But let us suppose that phenomenology joins that list. So let us consider then these elementary definitions. First, we have ontology, the study of beings. Epistemology is the study of knowledge. Logic is the study of valid reasoning. Ethics is the study of right and wrong, and phenomenology is the study of our experience. So how we experience things. And now let us talk about phenomenology in education. Phenomenology is not applied to education as a philosophical endeavor or theoretical tradition, rather as a method for educational research to illuminate lived experience, particularly of the students and teachers, to improve teaching and learning processes, and for curriculum development. And it has also occasionally provided possibilities for articulating theories of teaching and learning in close relation with concrete practice. So, in other words, phenomenology is not applied to education as a philosophical understanding or a foundational discipline such as perennialism, existentialism, or cognitivism and the like, but is seen from the perspective of the actual professional practice. So that means that phenomenology is a way of doing pedagogical research within the context of educational theory and practice. That's why we have more of a phenomenological research design or a phenomenological research methods instead of phenomenological philosophy in education. All right? And then phenomenological learning is related to the search for the meaning of self-experiences and perceptions. So the students' self-experiences include feelings, thoughts, responses, and the relationship between self and others, which include other students, teachers, learning topics, and so on. So therefore, education should focus on this by means of its curriculum implementations. The phenomenological approach should be applied in education system as a tool for learning. So this includes educational experiences, processes, and the means of teaching and learning. So this time we will talk about phenomenological research design. So what is a phenomenological research design? It is a qualitative research approach that seeks to understand and describe the universal essence of a phenomenon. It focuses on describing what all participants have in common as they experience any phenomenon, and it seeks essentially to describe rather than explain, and to start from a perspective free from hypotheses or preconceptions. So in other words, phenomenological research studies lived experiences to gain deeper insights into how people understand their experiences. And then we have three types of phenomenological research. First, we have transcendental phenomenology. So this is the scientific study of appearance of things as they are seen and appear on one's consciousness. So using the transcendental reduction process, one could delve deeply into consciousness and uncover the underlying structures of a phenomenon. And then we also have hermeneutic phenomenology, and this focuses on making meaning of experiences as they are lived. So the key difference between the two philosophical approaches lies within the research focus itself. So in transcendental phenomenology, it takes a descriptive approach, and in hermeneutic phenomenology, it takes an interpretive approach. All right? And then we also have existential phenomenology, and this study attempts to understand experiences of an individual from the consciousness of those having the experience themselves. So, this research believes that consciousness and the self could not be realistically separated from each other. So that's all for phenomenology. Next, we will have pragmatism. Okay, so to start with pragmatism, let's reflect on this first. So the question is your glass of life half empty or half full? So how do you see your glass of life? All right. So if you are an optimist, you see the glass as half full. And if you are a pessimist, you look into it as half empty. Okay? But if you are a pragmatist, you see it as an opportunity to have more water or more wine or to do something with the empty space. So as a pragmatist, you are challenged to take action, to change the situation into what you believe is better for self-improvement and satisfaction. So that is the idea of pragmatism. All right? Now, what is pragmatism? The word pragmatism is derived from the Greek word pragma, which means practice, practical, work, action, or activity. So pragmatism believes that something is true only if it works. So if it works, it's true. If it doesn't work, it's not true. Okay? And then they assert that practical consequences or real effects are vital components of meaning and truth. So pragmatists believe that any theory that proves itself more successful in predicting and controlling the world compared to its rivals are considered to be more true. Okay? And then it believes in change, that there is no eternal truth. So they believe that nothing is permanent, even the truth. So what is true yesterday may not be true today, and what is true today may not be true tomorrow. And then the key term here is evolving, that the world is evolving, and then when we evolve, we change, right? People change as well as their thoughts and ideas. And then pragmatism also put emphasis on action rather than thoughts. So they concentrate on facts rather than emotions or ideals. And then these are the three main proponents of pragmatism. First, we have Charles Sanders Peirce. He is the father of pragmatism, and he believes that thought must produce action rather than linger in the mind and lead to indecisiveness. And then we also have William James. He is the author of Pragmatic Theory. He defines truth in terms of usefulness of a belief. He thinks that useful beliefs are true and useless beliefs are false. And then the last one, we have John Dewey. He is the leading exponent of philosophical pragmatism. He believed that schools should reflect society, and education is not a preparation for life, but education is life itself. So they are the three proponents of pragmatism. Now let us proceed with the key ideas of pragmatism in education. First, the idea that facts can change. So pragmatists believe that truth can change and that they are willing to change their minds when new information or circumstances come about. Okay? And then they are also utilitarian. A utilitarian is someone who values things that are useful. So for them, if knowledge is not useful in real life, it is not interesting. Okay? And then the idea that experience is king. So it is only through experience that a pragmatist understands their world. And then thoughts and actions are interconnected. So the only thoughts that matter are the ones that are applied in real life circumstances. By taking action, a person is changing his or her thoughts. And then something is better than nothing. So pragmatists reward results of their action. And then they also believe that humans are social beings. So for them, social interactions are one of the primary experiences that everyone has in their everyday life. So now we will have the pragmatism and the aim of education. So pragmatists believe that life is dynamic, which is subjected to constant change, and concentrate on practical way of approaching or assessing situations or solving problems. Therefore, the aims of educations are bound to be dynamic. So the main task of educator is to put the students into position to develop values for them. So, first aim of education is to create new values and then to enable students to gather experience through activity. So for them, activity and experience are very essential for the life of the students. And then to help the student adjust with himself and the society that they belong, to help students reconstruct her experience. So everyone is entitled to solve different types of complex problems in their real life, and then to develop holistic development of the student. So those are the aims of pragmatism in education. Now, there are three forms of pragmatism. First, we have humanistic pragmatism. And according to this, man is the aim of all thinking and everything else is a means to achieve human satisfaction. So whatever fulfills one's purpose, satisfies one's desire, and develops one's life, and therefore is true. And then we also have experimental pragmatism. According to this, facts that can be verified by experiments are true. So no truth is final. Truth is known only to the extent it is useful in practice. And the last one, we have biological pragmatism. According to this, the capacity of a human being is valuable and important, which enables him to adjust with the environment and to change it to suit his needs and requirements. Those are the forms of pragmatism. And now we will talk about pragmatism and the curriculum. So in the field of curriculum development, the following principles have been suggested by the pragmatists. First, the principle of utility, and then the principle of interest, the principle of experience, and then the principle of integration. So we will talk about principle of utility first. Everything that students learn should have utility. So this means that everything should be useful to the student. By making things relevant and useful, students will be more engaged and eager to learn. So activities include language, physical well-being, training, geography, history, science, agriculture, home science, which are useful to the present needs of the child and meet the future expectations of adult life as well. And then next, we have the principle of interest. Curriculum content should also include the students' interests. Dewey argues that students have four interests, and these are in conversation, investigation, construction, and creative expression. Therefore, teachers should focus on creating lessons that involve dialogue, crafting, investigation, experiments, projects, and innovation. And then we also have the principle of experience. Pragmatists value experience over all else. So students can learn abstract things all day, but unless they experience those things, they may never truly learn. Teachers should therefore create a variety of learning experiences such as project-based, experimental, and experiential lessons that help children learn by doing. So this principle focuses on a child's activity, vocation, and experience. And then the last one is the principle of integration. For them, curriculum content is not separate and that knowledge is one unit. Instead, the pragmatic teacher links the curriculum content together through a process we call integration. So the teacher will show students how concepts from different subjects are related to each other and encourage a holistic understanding of the topics they are learning. So pragmatist wants to construct a flexible, dynamic, and integrated curriculum which aids the developing child and the changing society more and more. So that's all for pragmatism. That ends my discussion for phenomenology and pragmatism. I hope you learned something today. Thank you so much and God bless everyone.